The breaking point. Hadrian Voss adjusted his formal diplomatic attire one last time before the shuttle doors opened to reveal the Nexus Station's grand reception hall. The massive space station served as neutral ground for interstellar diplomacy, floating at the crossroads of 7 stellar empires. As Earth's senior diplomatic envoy, Hadrian carried the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. Today marked humanity's 4th attempt to secure membership in the Galactic Conclave, the ruling body that maintained order across 3 spiral arms of the Milky Way. The previous 3 attempts had been politely but firmly rejected. This time would be different. It had to be. "Nervous, sir?" asked Commander Eliza Chen, his security attaché. She wore the crisp gray uniform of the United Earth Defense Force, her posture impeccable. "Not nervous, Eliza. Determined." Hadrian straightened his shoulders. Humanity has spent 15 years meeting every requirement they've set. They can't move the goalposts again. The conclave chamber was a work of architectural genius, a perfect dome with 7 tiers representing the founding species. Hadrian noted the empty 8th tier that humans hoped to occupy. Representatives from over 200 worlds filled the observer galleries, curious about the upstart species that had mastered faster-than-light travel just 30 years ago. Elder Thrax of the Novaran hegemony presided today. The Novarans were an ancient species whose empire spanned hundreds of worlds. Their chitinous exoskeletons gleamed under the chamber's lights, 6 compound eyes reflecting a kaleidoscope of colors. Hadrian had never trusted them. Their body language was impossible to read, and their translator devices always seemed to convey an undertone of disdain. "The Conclave recognizes Envoy Hadrian Voss of Earth," announced Thrax, his voice resonating through the chamber. "You may present your case for membership consideration." Hadrian approached the central podium and activated his presentation. Holographic displays illuminated the chamber, showing Earth's achievements: the terraforming of Mars, the establishment of 17 extrasolar colonies, contributions to galactic medicine, including the cure for the Rigelian plague, and strict adherence to the non-interference protocols with pre-FTL civilizations. "Distinguished members of the Conclave," Hadrian began, "humanity stands before you having fulfilled every criterion for membership as outlined in the Charter of Worlds. We have maintained peace, shared our scientific discoveries, and respected the boundaries of all established territories." Elder Thrax chittered something to his advisors before responding. "Envoy Voss, while your presentation is thorough, the Conclave has concerns about humanity's rate of expansion. Your 17 colonies were established in just 20 years, a pace unprecedented in galactic history. With respect, Elder, we have colonized only uninhabited worlds, many deemed unsuitable by other species. We've transformed hostile environments through innovation, not conquest. Innovation that could easily become weaponized," interjected Ambassador Kileth of the militant Dracari Federation. "Your species developed from primitive technology to FTL capability in less than 2 centuries. Such rapid advancement suggests instability." Hadrian maintained his diplomatic composure, though his patience was wearing thin. "The speed of our advancement reflects our adaptability, not aggression. Humanity has not engaged in a single interspecies conflict since achieving FTL capability. Yet your historical records document countless intraspecies wars," countered Elder Thrax. "Your capacity for violence against your own kind raises questions about your potential actions toward others when pressed." "A history we acknowledge and have learned from," Hadrian replied. "I would remind the Conclave that every spacefaring species has similar chapters in their past. The Novaran purge of dissidents is well documented, as is the Dracari subjugation of the Trell." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Mentioning historical atrocities was considered taboo in Conclave proceedings. Hadrian knew he was breaking protocol, but after 3 failed applications, perhaps diplomacy by the book had reached its limits. Elder Thrax's compound eyes flashed with an unreadable emotion. "The Conclave finds your approach troubling, Envoy Voss. Perhaps humanity is not yet ready for the responsibilities of membership." "We have met every published requirement," Hadrian insisted, his voice firm. "If the conclave continues to reject qualified applicants based on unstated criteria, one might question the integrity of this institution." The chamber fell silent. Hadrian knew he'd crossed a line, but years of diplomatic circles had yielded nothing. Sometimes truth needed to be spoken plainly. Elder Thrax rose to his full height, towering over the podium. "The conclave has deliberated extensively on humanity's application prior to this session. We have accessed your communications networks, studied your military capabilities, and analyzed your genetic predispositions." Hadrian's blood ran cold. "You've been spying on Earth. That violates your own Charter of Worlds, Article 7. No member species shall conduct surveillance on applicant worlds beyond the established monitoring protocols." "Precautionary measures," Elder Thrax dismissed with a wave of his upper limb. "Our findings are concerning. Your species possesses what our xenopsychologists term exponential adaptability under threat, a trait unique among known sapients. When faced with existential danger, humans do not merely fight. They transform, evolve, and overcome at rates that defy prediction models." Commander Chen stepped forward, her hand instinctively moving toward her sidearm before she caught herself. "Envoy, this sounds like they're building a case against us, not evaluating our application." Elder Thrax continued as if she hadn't spoken. "The conclave has reached a unanimous decision. Humanity represents a Class 1 potential threat to galactic stability. As such, containment protocols are now in effect." The chamber's atmosphere shifted subtly. Hadrian felt a slight pressure change as invisible energy fields activated around the human delegation. "What is the meaning of this?" Hadrian demanded. "We came in peace, under diplomatic protection guaranteed by your own laws." "Laws that apply to civilized species," Elder Thrax replied coldly. "Our models indicate a 97.3% probability that within 1 century, humanity would achieve technological parity with the founding members. Within 3 centuries, you would likely surpass us. This cannot be permitted." The energy field around them began to glow faintly blue. Commander Chen drew her weapon despite the futility, placing herself between Hadrian and Thrax. "The Terran system and all human colonies will be quarantined," announced Elder Thrax, "restricted to your existing territories until suitable long-term containment measures can be implemented. This delegation will be detained as security against human compliance." "This is an act of war," Hadrian warned, his diplomatic veneer finally cracking. "Humanity won't submit to imprisonment in our own systems." Elder Thrax's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Your military assets have been catalogued, Envoy Voss. Your entire fleet consists of 82 warships of varying capabilities. The Novaran hegemony alone commands over 3,000. The Conclave collectively fields over 15,000. There will be no war, merely compliance or consequence." What happened next occurred with such speed that later accounts from observers varied widely. Commander Chen fired her sidearm at the energy field, creating a momentary disruption. She shouted something to Hadrian before pushing him toward the chamber's exit, placing herself in the line of fire from the Conclave's security forces. Energy weapons discharge. Chen fell. Hadrian was restrained by robotic security units. The chamber erupted in chaos as some delegations protested while others called for immediate action against Earth. Elder Thrax raised all 4 of his arms, restoring order. "The human delegation's violent response validates our assessment. As is tradition with Class 1 threats, an example must be made." He gestured to where Hadrian was being held. "Transmit this to Earth as our formal declaration of humanity's status." The energy field around Hadrian intensified, changing from blue to white-hot. The oxygen within ignited. Those present would later recall that the human diplomat did not beg or scream. He stood straight, eyes fixed on Elder Thrax, until his body was consumed by the conflagration. The conclave watched impassively as Hadrian Voss was reduced to ash. Elder Thrax swept his gaze across the chamber. "The human threat is contained. Their systems will be blockaded immediately. This session is adjourned. As the delegates filed out, none noticed the small communications device that had fallen from Commander Chen's hand in her final moments, a quantum entanglement transmitter, sending real-time data back to Earth, despite all conventional communications being blocked. On Earth, in the Unified Command Center beneath Geneva, Admiral Hiroshi Nakamura watched the execution of Hadrian Voss in stunned silence. Around him, military and civilian leaders sat frozen in disbelief. "They just burned him alive," whispered Defense Minister Okonkwo. On the floor of their conclave, while broadcasting it to us, Admiral Nakamura's weathered face softened slightly. Because Hadrian Voss believed in cooperation over conflict, his final diplomatic report, sent moments before his execution, recommended continued pursuit of peaceful relations, even if the conclave rejected our application. We honor his vision by building the inclusive galactic community he imagined, one where advancement is shared, not hoarded. As the session concluded, Admiral Nakamura gazed out at the stars visible through the station's observation dome. "The calculation error works both ways," he murmured to himself. "They underestimated our capacity for war, but perhaps they will be equally surprised by our capacity for peace." The Galactic Assembly's founding ceremony was scheduled for the following day. Humanity's place among the stars was secure not through subjugation, but through the very adaptation that had made the former conclave fear them. In the face of extinction, they had evolved, not just to survive, but to thrive. And in so doing, they had transformed the galaxy itself. In the space above Noveria Prime, aboard the Earth warship Retribution, Admiral Sofia Mendoza watched the battle unfold with clinical detachment. The ship's cognitive strategic AI highlighted targets and calculated optimal attack vectors faster than organic minds could process. "The Novaran flagship is attempting to coordinate their defense," reported her tactical officer. "Their encryption is already broken, transmitting false orders now." Admiral Mendoza nodded. Status of the planetary shield grid. Shield generators 17 through 42 have been neutralized. We have a clear shot at the capital complex. "No," Mendoza replied firmly. "We're not here for vengeance or conquest. Maintain the operation parameters, military targets only. Civilian casualties are to be avoided at all costs." Her executive officer approached with a secure tablet. "Admiral, we've intercepted a conclave emergency session transmission. They're authorizing the use of prohibited weapons, stellar destabilizers." Mendoza's expression darkened. Such weapons could induce a premature nova in a star, destroying entire systems. They would sacrifice their own worlds to stop us. Transmit the contingency authorization. All ships deploy black hole protocol. Throughout the battle space, human vessels released small, innocuous-looking devices that quickly established a complex network. When activated, they generated a localized space-time distortion that rendered faster-than-light communication impossible. The conclave fleets, dependent on centralized command and control, fell into disarray. On Noveria Prime, Elder Thrax and the emergency conclave session watched in horror as their coordinated defense collapsed. System after system reported the same. Human forces neutralizing military assets with surgical precision while avoiding civilian targets. "How?" demanded Caleth. "How could they have prepared this response so quickly? It's been only 3 days since we detained their delegation." A junior analyst hesitantly approached the conclave table. "Honored elders, preliminary assessment suggests this was pre-planned. The human fleet movements indicate extensive knowledge of our defenses and protocols, knowledge that would take years to accumulate." Thrax's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. "Are you suggesting they anticipated our decision? That this was their plan all along?" "No," interjected High Admiral Zorax, his military mind grasping the situation with clarity his political counterparts lacked. "They didn't plan for rejection. They planned for betrayal. They came in peace, genuinely seeking membership, but prepared for war just in case, a contingency they hoped never to use." The conclave chamber shook as precision strikes disabled the planetary defense grid. Power fluctuated throughout the capital complex. "We must negotiate," urged one of the minor species representatives, "before they destroy everything." "Negotiate from what position?" countered Caleth bitterly. "We have no leverage. Our fleets are in disarray, our communications compromised." The chamber's main doors slid open. A human in a United Earth Defense Force uniform walked in calmly, flanked by combat drones. The representatives reached for weapons, but found their security systems unresponsive. "My name is General Maya Santos," the human announced, her voice carrying effortlessly across the chamber. "I represent the United Earth government." Elder Thrax rose shakily to his feet. "Have you come to execute us as we did your envoy? To return barbarity with barbarity?" General Santos' expression remained neutral. "If we operated by your standards, Elder Thrax, this planet would already be a smoldering ruin. Instead, I bring terms." She activated a holographic display showing the status of the 7 simultaneous battles occurring across conclave space. In each theater, human forces had achieved total tactical superiority while sustaining minimal losses. "Humanity does not seek destruction or domination," continued Santos. "Despite what you may believe, we sought peaceful cooperation through the conclave. You responded with treachery and execution. You concealed your true capabilities," accused Caleth. "You lied about your military strength." "We disclosed exactly what your charter required," Santos countered. "Your intelligence gathering revealed exactly what we allowed it to see. Consider it a test, one you failed spectacularly." High Admiral Zorax laughed suddenly, a harsh, grating sound. "Magnificent. They used our own arrogance against us. We thought we were studying them, but they were evaluating us." "You mentioned terms," Elder Thrax said quietly. "What does Earth want?" General Santos gestured, and a formal document appeared before each representative. "The disbanding of the current conclave structure. A new galactic assembly will be formed with equal representation for all spacefaring species, including those previously denied membership. No species may unilaterally determine the fate of another." "This is unprecedented," protested Thrax. "The conclave has maintained galactic order for millennia." "Your version of order," Santos replied, "enforced by the privileged few upon the many. That ends today." High Admiral Zorax studied the terms carefully. "These are surprisingly reasonable. No reparations, no territorial concessions. We want partners, not subjects," explained Santos. "Earth has no interest in empire building. We simply refuse to be contained or controlled." As the representatives reviewed the document, an alert sounded on Santos's wrist device. She checked it, her expression growing grave. "It seems some among you have decided to escalate rather than negotiate." The holographic display shifted to show a Dracari dreadnought deploying what could only be a stellar destabilizer toward Earth's sun. Caleth smiled viciously. "Perhaps not all our options are exhausted after all." Santos remained calm. "Admiral Mendoza, you have authorization for Protocol Umbra." On the display, a small human vessel intercepted the destabilizer. Instead of attempting to destroy it, the ship enveloped the weapon in a field of shimmering darkness. The field collapsed in upon itself, forming a pinpoint of intense light before disappearing entirely. "Dimensional folding," Santos explained to the stunned representatives. "We've redirected your weapon to an uninhabited pocket dimension. The same technology we've now deployed around every conclave homeworld star." She let that sink in. "Should any further aggression be attempted against Earth or her colonies, we can instantly transport your star's mass elsewhere. Not as a threat, as a failsafe against extinction-level weapons." The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Humanity had not only defeated the conclave militarily, but had neutralized their ultimate deterrent. "The terms are non-negotiable," Santos continued, "but they are fair. Sign, and we begin rebuilding immediately. Refuse, and we will establish the new assembly without you, leaving your species isolated as you intended to isolate us. One by one, the representatives of the 7 founding species affixed their signatures or genetic markers to the document. Elder Thraxus was the last to sign. "I still don't understand," he said quietly to Santos. "How did your kind advance so quickly? What drives your species to such heights?" General Santos considered the question. "Throughout our history, whenever humans have faced extinction, we've adapted with terrifying speed. You threatened our existence. We responded accordingly. It's not complex, just the simple mathematics of survival." Elder Thrax's compound eyes dimmed in comprehension. "A calculation error. We believed we were containing a manageable threat. Instead, we created an existential one." "No," Santos corrected. "You simply revealed what was already there. A species unwilling to be subjugated, yet equally unwilling to subjugate others. Remember that paradox as we build something better together." As she left the chamber, General Santos activated her secure communications link. "This is Santos. Phase 1 complete. The galaxy is about to change, Admiral Nakamura. I believe Hadrian would be proud." In orbit above Earth, at the headquarters of the newly established Galactic Assembly Transition Authority, Admiral Hiroshi Nakamura stood before the assembled representatives of 37 species, the 7 former Conclave founders, and 30 others previously denied full participation. "The human response to aggression was regrettable but necessary," he concluded. "However, we recognize that retribution perpetuates cycles of violence. Therefore, Earth proposes full technological exchange, open scientific cooperation, and mutual defense pacts for all assembly members." The chamber buzzed with excitement. Access to phase shift technology and dimensional folding would revolutionize everything from medicine to energy production. A Novaran representative, not Thrax, who had resigned in disgrace, raised an appendage. "After what we did, why would you share such advantages freely?" Admiral Nakamura's weathered face hardened into a mask of cold fury. "They believe this will cow us into submission. They've studied our history, but learned nothing from it." He turned to his communications officer. "Send authorization Omega to all fleet commanders. Activation code, Thermopylae." The young officer paled. "Sir, that's the—" "I know what it is, Lieutenant. Do it." Across human space, hidden facilities hummed to life. In the asteroid belt, massive hangar doors opened on bases that officially didn't exist. From Jupiter's moon Callisto, vessels of unfamiliar design rose from underground complexes. Throughout the 17 colonies, similar scenes unfolded as humanity revealed what it had kept hidden from prying eyes. Admiral Nakamura addressed the assembled leadership. "For 30 years, we've known this day might come. While we sought peaceful acceptance, we prepared for the alternative. Now, we'll show the Conclave what happens when you threaten humanity with extinction." On the main display, tactical readouts showed hundreds of ships moving into formation. Far more than the 82 warships the Conclave believed comprised Earth's total fleet. "The Phoenix Protocol is now in effect," declared Admiral Nakamura. "May God have mercy on our enemies, because we will not." Reckoning. Elder Thrax stood before the Conclave's Military Oversight Committee, his usual composed demeanor noticeably absent. 3 days had passed since the execution of the human diplomat and the formal quarantine of Earth and its colonies. "Explain again," demanded Caleth of the Dracari, "how an entire blockade fleet disappeared at the edge of the Sol system." "Not disappeared," corrected Thrax, mandibles clicking nervously. "Destroyed. All 127 vessels. No distress signals. No survivors." The committee chamber erupted in outrage and disbelief. Representatives from 7 species talked over one another until High Admiral Zorax of the Phalanx Collective slammed his massive fist on the table. Silence. The aged warrior's cybernetic eye whirred as it focused on Thrax. "You assured this committee that humans possessed only 82 warships of inferior design and limited armament. How could they neutralize a blockade fleet of our most advanced destroyers? Thrax's compound eyes dimmed in what his species recognized as shame. We may have underestimated their capacity for deception. New intelligence suggests humans have been concealing their true military capability since first contact. On the central holographic display, footage from a surviving reconnaissance drone played. It showed ships of unfamiliar configuration emerging from what appeared to be fold space, a theoretical propulsion technology the Conclave had deemed impossible to stabilize. The human vessels moved with impossible precision, their weapons cutting through Conclave shields as if they weren't there. Most disturbing, continued Thrax, is that they appear to have developed functional phase-shifting technology. Their ships can partially exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously, making conventional defenses ineffective. Killeth hissed through pointed teeth. Impossible. Our scientists have deemed phase-shifting theoretically unviable due to molecular instability. Evidently, replied High Admiral Zorax dryly, the humans failed to read our scientific journals. The meeting was interrupted by a priority alert. The holographic display shifted to show real-time tactical data as alarms blared throughout the station. Multiple contacts, reported a Novaran tactical officer, his voice strained. 300-plus vessels have appeared in system. They're not using the jump gates. They're just materializing at strategic positions around Novaria Prime. Thrax staggered back. Impossible. Our homeworld's defense grid is impenetrable. On the display, the human fleet moved with coordinated precision that suggested either perfect battle simulations or prior knowledge of Novaran defense protocols. Ship after ship of the vaunted Novaran Home Guard was systematically disabled or destroyed. All fleets respond, ordered High Admiral Zorax. Defensive pattern Omega. Priority to protecting Novaria Prime. But even as reinforcements from other Conclave species mobilized, similar reports flooded in. Human fleets had simultaneously appeared at 6 other core worlds of the Conclave founding species. Each attack force demonstrated the same impossible technology and devastating effectiveness.